Hey everyone, my name is Avi. I'm a tech program manager at Amazon Prime Video. A bit of background on me. My relationship with AI started long before streaming media was even really a thing. My academic roots are a little eclectic. I studied physical anthropology, philosophy of mind, psychobiology, and then went deep into computer science, focusing on AI. Along the way, I became fascinated by questions around how intelligence emerges, how context shapes meaning, and how humans turn questions into structured thought. I've spent most of my career in digital media and in e-commerce, building products that really tried to make complex things feel simple. And for the last several years at Prime Video, I've been focused on data infrastructure and our content partner facing analytics, the invisible plumbing that makes insights possible for our content partners or studios, their channels, as well as smaller creators who work with us. I think everybody here will agree we're standing at a pretty extraordinary inflection point right now. For the last decade, most of BI has been about getting data in one place. And for the next decade, I think it's about helping people have a conversation with their data. If you've worked in media, you know the landscape, right? Content partners don't just want charts and dashboards. They want an understanding. Specifically, they want to know things like why certain titles break out, where audiences are leaking, what campaigns they run drive retention. And overall, they want to know how they should act. They want to determine this not next month, but they want it now. And for years, the typical answer to these questions have been dashboards and reports, right? A dashboard for churn, a dashboard for engagement, dashboard, report for marketing. We built hundreds of them. Everybody does. But dashboards are fundamentally one directional, right? They show you what's there. They don't talk back to you and tell you what to do. And that's not what people actually think. Or rather, it's not how people actually think. Humans ask questions. They follow threads. They start broad, then they go deeper. We change our mind mid-sentence. And the systems that we build, I think, need to be smart enough to keep up with those patterns. That's why we started looking for something that could primarily do three things. We wanted a headless BI, so we're not locked into any one interface. We wanted to establish a semantic layer that serves as a single trusted source of truth. And we wanted to create a foundation for agentic analytics, where people can talk to their data like they talk to another human. And our journey with Cube really started with a peer recommendation. We did a quick proof of concept with the community edition, and honestly, it worked better than we expected. So much so that we quickly moved to an enterprise BYOC deployment. And within about a week, we had Cube up and running, which is almost unheard of at enterprise scale. What I liked immediately about Cube was that it didn't try to be everything. Cube doesn't force a visualization layer or insist on how a data warehouse is structured. It slots into the existing ecosystem, and quietly it does one thing I think extremely well, which is it gives structure to the meaning in your data. And that's what I think a semantic layer is at its best, right? It's not just a catalog of fields. It's a living, shared understanding of what the business metrics actually mean. I think there's three things that make Cube a natural fit for this emerging generation of analytics. First, a headless BI, right? Instead of coupling metrics to specific dashboards, or products, Cube lets us define them once and use them anywhere. Dashboards, APIs, internal apps, and increasingly conversational interfaces, which is where things get super interesting. Second, as I mentioned, the semantic layer. If you've ever worked at scale, you know that what's churn, the question can have seven different answers or more. Cube becomes that single canonical voice, one definition, one truth. And this is what makes it possible to bring language models into the picture without descending into pure chaos. Third, interoperability. Cube plays well with modern data stacks. It doesn't force a rip and replace migration. It's like adding a brain stem to an existing body, and suddenly all the other parts can coordinate. This foundation is what unlocked the next step for us, which is making our analytics conversational. This is the part that gets me really excited, which is the fusion of Cube with large language models through D3. When someone asks a question, say, how did my comedy titles perform last quarter compared to drama titles? The system now doesn't guess. It uses RAG over the semantic model. And traditionally, RAG retrieves documents or chunks of text, which is useful in many contexts, but it often gets messy. Semantic layer RAG retrieves business logic, and that's a profound difference, right? The result isn't just a clever chatbot that sounds smart and might be useful, but it's a grounded agent that's operating over real governed metrics. And that grounding is a difference between, a sophisticated toy that again might be somewhat useful, and a production-grade analytics system. This is where Bedrock plays an important role for us. It gives us the security, gives us low latency, and it gives us the model flexibility that we need, while letting us experiment at the edge without rewriting the architecture every 3 months. Of course, this isn't all just sunshine and graphs that emerge. Evaluating traditional BI is pretty straightforward, right? You've got latency concerns, accuracy, data freshness, overall performance. Evaluating agentic BI it's different, right? We now ask questions like, did the model understand the intent correctly? Did it stay faithful to the underlying metrics? Did the narrative make sense to a human? And overall, did the experience build trust, right? So we've had to think differently about eval frameworks, blending quantitative checks with qualitative signals. Also, orchestration matters a lot. Agentic systems are potentially very powerful, but they're unpredictable if you're not careful. Need guardrails, fallback behaviors, and error handling. These things are just as important as the language model itself. I don't want to take a ton of time, but I'd like to zoom out just a little bit, because this area is so interesting. Like I said, I spent a lot of time in AI, enough to remember when intelligent systems meant rule-based engines with very brittle edge cases. And I was in grad school during the second or third winter for connectionist models back in the 90s. But today we're really building systems that are able to reason over structured business meaning in ways we couldn't have imagined even 5 years ago. And this is really just the beginning. So I want to talk about here what I think we're likely to see in the next 2 to 3 years. I think analytics is going to increasingly become truly conversational, not just chatbots that are bolted on top of BI, but systems where semantic layers and agents work together to reason about business context in real time. I think RAG will evolve into structured orchestration instead of just retrieval. Agents, I think, are going to learn how to compose multi-step analytic plans, chain of thought, but over semantic primitives, if that makes sense. I think semantic layers are going to become the new API service. Instead of building yet another dashboard, teams will expose their metrics as knowledge objects that agents can compose and reason over. And I think metrics are going to, in a sense, talk to one another. I imagine metrics that can infer relationships and proactively surface insights. Not just what's churn, but churn is rising in this segment, and here are the likely drivers and what to do about it. Finally, I think agentic analytics will collapse the distance between strategy and execution. Decisions that once took weeks of back and forth, I think are going to happen in minutes with explainability and with governance baked in. And that last part really matters, right? Because intelligence, whether it's human intelligence or artificial intelligence, isn't just about processing information. It's about framing the right questions. And so when I look at Cube, I don't just see a BI tool, I see a linguistic and logical substrate, a way to give business concepts structure, shape, and a shared meaning. And when I look at LLMs like Claude, I see an interpreter, something capable of taking human intent and mapping it to structured, reasoned action. Lastly, when I look at where agentic analytics is headed, I see the lines between human reasoning and machine reasoning starting to blur in really fascinating and productive ways. So in summary, the future isn't more about dashboards, it's about dialogue. I think it's about creating systems that can listen, interpret, act, and explain. And I'm super excited to be building that future, or helping build that future, alongside companies like Amazon and Cube. So I want to thank everybody for giving me this time. Hope you're having a great time, and bye for now.